Hi, this is Don Forsyth. Welcome back to the next installment of Group Dynamics. Thank you for joining me. Our topic today in this presentation is group formation. Groups come into being for quite a few different reasons. In some cases, they're deliberately formed. Organization, society, work must be done, and so a group is created deliberately. But in many cases, groups form naturally as individuals cross paths time and time again, as they discover that they are attracted to each other, as individuals find that in order to accomplish personal goals or collective goals, they seek out others. The chapter's case study is the Impressionists. My interest in the Impressionists comes in part from Michael Farrell's excellent book where he deals with collaborative circles. Collaborative circle, as he just explains, combines the dynamics of a friendship group and a work group. At the core is a set of friends who, over a period of time, working together, negotiate a shared vision that guides their work. As the group evolves, the members develop their own rituals and jargon, and each member comes to play an expected role. He examines the Impressionists, as do I, in the analysis of how groups come into existence. As typical, I will break this topic down into several parts. Joining groups, affiliation, and attraction. In this presentation, I'll deal only with the question of who, and examine individual characteristics which tend to be associated with group formation. In the next presentation, we'll move on to affiliation. When do people join in groups? Often it's because they face stressful circumstances, and a group will provide them with the support they need to get through those stressful circumstances. Lastly, we'll turn to questions of attraction. In some cases, groups come into existence when two individuals find that they like each other and want to spend time together, and then more individuals join with those initial two, and the group elaborates over time as more and more people join together. So joining groups, first it depends upon who, the characteristics of the people, and like much of psychology these days, when we talk about personality characteristics, we often focus on one key theory of individual differences, and that would be the five-factor model of personality, sometimes described as the Big Five. It describes five basic dimensions of individual variation: extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, sometimes described more positively as emotional stability, and openness to experience. Individuals vary along these five dimensions, and some of these dimensions are related to the tendency to join groups more so than others. At core, the basic idea of personality and individual differences gets down to the issue of group composition. In some cases, for example, a personality trait like extroversion might push a person towards joining a group. Agreeableness, in contrast, might be a quality that the group finds attractive in others and so seeks out individuals who are agreeable. Conscientiousness is, in this case, may be a person wishes to achieve certain goals, conscientiously applies himself or herself to seeking those goals, and may find that joining together with others in a group is an efficient way to reach those goals. Neuroticism, individuals who are more emotionally labile, may find the presence of a group to be calming and provide them with stability in difficult times. And lastly, groups are a means to experience new things, to seek creativity, to learn new ideas. Much education, for example, occurs in groups. Why is that? It's because groups help people learn new things, exposes them to new ideas. It opens their minds to alternatives. So all these factors are related to the tendency to join together in groups. Get my clicker here working. Sex differences, men and women. It's often suggested that, women join in groups more than men, but that would be an exaggeration. It is true that women tend to be more socio-emotional. They tend to be higher in what we might refer to as relationality. They put more emphasis on connections to others than men do, although it's a subtle difference. Women tend to seek membership in somewhat smaller, more informal friendship groups, whereas men are attracted to more informal, highly structured, more task-focused groups. But again, these are subtle differences, and they're certainly not necessarily due to some biological difference between men and women. In all likelihood, that this difference is due in part to the fact that for cultural reasons, in many cases, women have been banned from participating in some larger groups. For example, the United States Senate, combat teams until recently. Heck, until very recently, in some states, women were even banned from participating on juries. So it is not necessarily the case that women by nature seek smaller groups, men seek larger groups, but in fact, sexism prevented equality between the sexes in their group behavior. Henry Murray's work on motivation, what drives a person, what moves a person to seek out one thing and avoid another thing, I highlighted a large number of motives, but three of which are particularly important to group behavior and joining together in groups. And those would be the need for affiliation, the need for intimacy, and the need for power. All three of these can be satisfied by joining together in groups, and as the slide suggests, the difficulty with these motivation theories is they're difficult to measure directly. And so Murray recommended the use of indirect projective measures to examine people's motivations to join groups. Another approach to group membership, individual differences, was developed by Will Schutz in his theory labeled Fundamental Interpersonal Relations Orientation, or FIRO theory. So as sketched out here on the board, although he changed one of his dimensions here, inclusion control. Originally he described it as affection, but as time moved on he revised that label and referred to it as openness. His theory suggests that people have these three basic needs, inclusion, control, openness, or affection, and they wish to express them towards other people, but they also want them from other people. So in this case, for example, people will welcome other people, try to join with other people, and they'll either want that from other people, I want people to include me, or they'll express it themselves. Control works nicely because we have the individual who wishes to express control, but that's complemented in the FIRO theory by people who want to be controlled. And affection or openness means that they're open and friendly towards others, and they appreciate others who are open and friendly towards them as well. This is a theory of personality, so the idea is that individuals can vary along all six of these dimensions or characteristics, so that individuals who seek out membership in groups, well, they're more likely to be higher in expressed and wanted inclusion, expressed and wanted affection. Control, on the other hand, suggests that an individual may seek, if they're high in expressed control, they only wish really to join in groups that they could influence in some way. Another popular theory of relational individual differences in relationships is attachment theory, going back to Bowlby's work, in which he suggested that some individuals, by nature, as indicated at a very young age, say 2 or 3 years, vary in their attachment style. That some small children, and therefore adults as well, are secure, they're self-confident, they seek out others, and they rely on others. They're confident that their relationships with others will be secure ones. Others are not so sure. They're dismissing as described here, but these would be the avoidant individuals in Bowlby's original theory. They wouldn't be particularly interested in groups. They tend to avoid close personal relationships with others, but they're comfortable with that aspect of who they are. Up here we have two different types. In the original theory, these individuals who were preoccupied were labeled as anxious, ambivalent. They seek to be part of groups, but they are regularly worried by thoughts that they're going to be rejected by others around them. Fearful individuals, in fact, are quite certain that others evaluate them negatively, and so as a result of that fear, they avoid groups. The preoccupied continue to seek out membership. Those who are fearful tend to like the avoidance to stay away from groups. The difference between the fearful and the dismissing is dismissing individuals are just not interested in joining groups. Fearful individuals are interested in joining groups, but they're so fearful of being rejected that they don't seek them out. Other factors besides personality that may influence when a person will join a group, well, it'd be a long list, wouldn't it be? Recently, Steve Caro has developed a beliefs about group scale, which nicely predicts who seeks out groups and who doesn't. Some people have a preference for groups. Some people don't really trust other people in groups. Some people have had many experiences in groups which have turned out negatively. Perhaps all of us have had such an experience where, as part of a class, a professor has assigned a group paper for us to do, and no one else in our group took it seriously, and so we ended up having to do all the work. But then hopefully all of us have also had a case where we've been part of a group that's been very effective, that got its work done, and not only that, provided positive socio-emotional experiences for the members. Based on these past experiences, Caro suggests that we develop clear preferences, a level of trust for others, a set of perhaps negative expectations, but perhaps positive performance beliefs as well. Other research, in this case conducted by Tom Brinhauer, Dick Moreland, John Levine, and their colleagues, looking at how previous experiences in groups more specifically influence the decision to seek out groups. In this particular research, they looked at incoming college students and their first weeks in school to see what kinds of groups did they get involved with. And what you did see is that these two characteristics, people who previously enjoyed groups and felt that they were important, had positive experiences in groups, they valued groups, and that caused them to seek out groups more. And in fact, positive experiences alone jumps past positive evaluations of groups so that they seek out groups. As an aside, this is a particular kind of group association. More recent research looking at, for example, social movement participation. Social movement. I mean, who would join in a social movement? And some research suggests that individuals who get involved in civic action, protests, for example, Occupy Wall Street might be a good example of such a kind of group. They generally require not necessarily positive experience or value groups or enjoy being in groups, but instead for these specific kinds of groups, individuals with a strong sense of injustice being done and some anger. Many of us feel that there's injustice in the world, but we may not have anger about it. But if those combine, we're more likely to join together in a social movement. That's a quick run through the personal characteristics that have to be associated with why a person joins the group. Next topic will deal with affiliation. What aspects of the situation prompt individuals to seek out group membership? Thank you, as always, for joining me.